You're listening to JetNation Radio, the official podcast of JetNation.com, the largest independent fan site in the NFL. Be sure to check out our forums and talk all things Jets with thousands of other diehard Jets fans. Now, to get you up to date on all the latest Jets news, notes, and quotes, here are your hosts, Glenn Naughton and Alex Varallo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of JetNation Radio. I am joined by my host, Dylan Terraman, tonight. Glenn might be calling in. He had a last-minute work situation, but we do hope to hear from him later on in the show. Dylan, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. I mean, we've kind of been in this purgatory state since Halloween, maybe a little bit before that, where our victories come in the form of losses if you're a Jets fan. So I guess maybe happy Victory Tuesday, because the Jets continue to lose and continue to win the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes per se.
That is absolutely 100%. A little comical, a little sad seeing, Twitter melting down up until the last 10 seconds of that game. And, who would have known that Henry Ruggs and Derek Carr would be the unsung heroes to keep the Tankathon alive. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to take a moment to give some light onto our sponsor, Mile Social. Mile Social is a great tool for all businesses. If you are trying to get your company out to the masses of social media and you need help with management, web design, search engine optimization, Mile Social is your go-to plan. You can find them at milesocial.com, and that is milesocial.com. So, Dylan, a little short on the injury updates for tonight, but we have some new names that we have to cover, and that is probably going to change the outcome for many things in the upcoming weeks. As of right now, it looks like Greg Van Roten has a toe issue and is not looking good for this Sunday. As we also know, and we're going to talk about this later on too, tonight we're going to get into conversation about Alex Lewis's situation. Obviously, we have to get into the Gregg Williams firing that had happened due to that horrific call that he made at the end of the game. And we'll also be talking about a former Jet that we'll have to be facing this week in Jamal Adams. So to further the list on the injuries here, it looks like Ashton Davis is dealing with a foot issue, and Bennett Jackson is dealing with a hamstring issue, and he could possibly be done for the season per Adam Gase. I got that info from Rich Cimini this week. He also highlighted the fact that maybe Cam Clark might be getting an opportunity to play. My guess is that they probably are going to go with Josh Andrews, which I disagree with. And, I'd like to see Cam Clark. I think you and I have talked about that at length. And also, right now, there's only two safeties on the roster that seem to be healthy, and that's Marcus May and Matthias Farley. Dylan, what do you think about the slim numbers at the safety position? And do you think that Cam Clark's going to get an opportunity to crack the lineup this week?
Well, first we'll talk about the O-line. Van Roten, it was kind of hard to tell live when the game happened, but there was a small broadcast replay angle where you could see George Fant kind of ripped his defender over that way and rolled up on Van Roten pretty hard. So I'm not sure if we'll actually see Van Roten again this season, which kind of sucks for me. I mean, I kind of was rooting for him. I know Jets fans weren't exactly impressed with him, but I was impressed with the fact that he was able to stay on the field 100% of the games up until that injury. So, I mean, moving forward, you would hope Cam Clark can crack a spot in the lineup. He's been a healthy scratch, I guess you could call him, the last few weeks on the inactive report. I think they have to try him out at this point. They have nothing else to lose unless he's truly just not healthy enough. And then the safety position, I mean, we saw when Ashton Davis got hurt that Matthias Farley was just not at all capable of being a replacement. He was burnt by Darren Waller several times. I posted it on Twitter about a few hours ago, just going over the zero blitz thing, and there was a 3rd and 8 on the prior drive where Farley just got cooked by Darren Waller at the top of the field, and Derek Carr just missed him. He threw it to Aguilar instead. But, I mean, safeties is just going to be bleak for now, and with a new defensive coordinator, we'll see how he likes to deploy the safeties, but it's not looking good. They signed Elijah Campbell to the active roster. He played a little bit last game, mainly on special teams, or solely on special teams, and we'll just see. We need warm bodies at safety. Maybe they call up Shaheem Carter. He was an undrafted free agent that they signed after the draft process. That he's an undersized guy from Alabama, but he's got good ball skills, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, very, very interesting how the Jets were so strong at safety, in the beginning of this year, and now we're looking at it in Week 13 going into Week 14 here. And that's the way the NFL is. A lot can change from 1 week to the next. And, speaking of the NFL and some things that is going on around the league, and this is going to tie in our special guest tonight because we do have a couple callers coming in, and there's a thing that all these NFL players are doing each week, and it's called My Cause, My Cleats. Players are supporting foundations and trying to raise awareness around the league to the fan base on how to get involved and support all different things that are of major concerns in our world today. Just to kind of spot some of the players on our Jets teams, Ashton Davis was supporting drug addiction awareness. Apparently he has some ties with his family, having, experienced that himself. So very important thing for him. Braxton Berrios is bringing awareness on brain tumors. Matthias Farley is doing suicide prevention. And as we know, former Jet Brandon Marshall was a big advocate on the bipolar and manic depression scene, being that he actually suffered from those situations as well, and he's come forward with it. And he's really been a great role model for many people that struggle with these things that they're really unsure of or they don't know how to handle them or try to find proper balance in our life. So our two guests tonight that will be calling in are from a company called Food and Mood, and they're going to help and bring some information to us and our listeners about what they have going on. And I'm not going to go in too deep into details because I want to give them the opportunity to go ahead and tell us everything that they've got going on. I'm very excited about it personally, and I can't wait to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Before we get into that, and the ladies will be calling in around 6:15, which is in about 7 to 10 minutes or so. We should be getting them on the air. But before we go to that, Dylan, we mentioned it before. The Jets fall again this week. Kind of a scary situation for those that were rooting for the loss. It was quite interesting that we started out pretty decent. Frank Gore went down. That was another player I forgot to mention that had went down, I believe, with a concussion. His status is up in the air. And we saw some activity from some players we haven't seen before, Josh Adams and Ty Johnson. And Ty Johnson looks like he had a little bit of a breakout game, mainly because of some of the quality offensive line play that has occurred with a new offensive lineman, our left guard, Pat Eflin. What was your take on the running game and seeing some guys I guess this would be our 3 and our 4 on the depth chart at this point, cracking the lineup and doing some positive things?
So with Pat Elflein, I mean, I was kind of a fan of the signing rather, when they signed him a few weeks back. I didn't expect him to come in and start right away. I figured he would just be more depth and that we would see Cam Clark at that point. But once Elflein did step in, I mean, it's good that he's been playing 100% of the snaps the 2 games he started, which is really positive to see. Excuse me. And then the Mekhi Becton first drive, specifically, when he was going up against Cleveland Farrell, there were some run blocks that he put on Farrell where he moved him at least 4 or 5 yards off the ball. I didn't get too deep into my rewatch. I watched the first drive of the Jets and then the last few drives of the whole debacle of the cover 0 thing, just to take some notes on that. But just the first drive alone, Mekhi Becton came away with at least 4 pluses for me, just putting hands on guys, getting up to the next level, being the lead blocker, and you see it. Gase has trust in him. He runs to the left the majority of the time. And with the running backs behind them, I mean, you kind of have to force Adam Gase's hand, unfortunately, to start the younger, faster, sometimes better running backs. And we saw it as soon as Gore went down on the second play. They combined for 178 yards combined. So all in all, you have to like what you saw from the young guys. And moving forward, you have to hope it continues. If Gore comes back from injury and can play, maybe Gase says, hey, we'll play with a hot hand and start Johnson and Adams instead of Gore. But overall, you have to be excited.
Absolutely. And I know I got a good laugh from a lot of people on Twitter saying, I don't think people realize that Ty Johnson is supposed to be tanking and we need Frank Gore to come back in there. So quite comical from our fans on Twitter and their reactions. But it's kind of interesting to see what a Jets offensive line can look like with a running back that's, not 37 years old. And, no disrespect to Frank Gore, but he's a great guy. I think his time has passed, but he's just not ready to hang up his cleats. And, just really good to see a spark, something positive come from the offense because they haven't been doing much on that front. And I'm just happy to see, the offense starting to look like a professional football team because our offense has been laggard as of late. And, the Jets were in it. We were fighting till the end. And unfortunately, our defensive coordinator took a gamble that cost him his job. And we're going to get into that later on tonight. And I believe we have a caller on the line at the moment. And just give us 1 second. We're going to get you on the air shortly. I believe we're going to have 2 special guests tonight, Lauren Luppino and Holly Delong from Food and Mood. So just give us a moment. We will get you on the air shortly. And go to the studio here. Okay, good. Okay. And Dylan, what was your reaction to Adam Gase's decision? Because apparently this didn't come from Joe Douglas. This came from Adam Gase himself on the firing. I thought this would be something that would come from the general manager. Did that?
Yeah, that absolutely did shock me. In the phone conference he does with the media on Monday, this is Adam Gase. He does a Monday spot with the media on a phone conference. He said that he was the one that initially, made the final decision on Gregg Williams, whether to fire him or keep him. But there was a nice 3 to 4 second pause between being asked the question and when he answered it. And then he said it was an organizational decision and said that, Christopher Johnson, Joe Douglas, and team president Jaime Elhai were all in the room with Gase discussing it. So I think it's a similar situation to the play calling. Is Gase just trying to say he did it just to maintain this power or control that he wants to have or seem to have over this organization? So, I mean, I don't think Adam Gase is for long if Jets fans are worried about that at any point, but maybe Joe Douglas just wants Adam Gase to keep it in his head that he has all this control so that when Joe Douglas pulls the rug out from under him, Joe Douglas will come out and say, hey, we're going to run it my way. I'm going to go get my guy at head coach. He'll get his staff, and we're going to put it together the right way because for the past at least 10 years, this power structure has not worked.
Absolutely agree. And it looks like we have both of our callers on the line right now. I'm going to get them on the air. This is our food and mood segment here. So, okay, Lauren and Holly, how you doing? You're live on JetNation Radio?
Hi, Al.
How's it going?
Al.
I'm glad to have
Hi.
both of you ladies on. And, I was giving our fans a little bit of a preview. I didn't want to get too in-depth about what you guys have going on with your new company, Food and Mood. So I'm going to start with just asking both of you to kindly tell us a little bit about yourselves and your, what you guys do for the company. So, Lauren, why don't you give us the breakdown on your aspect?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thank you so much, Alex and JetNation, for having us on. So you mentioned Brandon Marshall. And in retirement, he is taking a mind-body approach to his wellness, and he's taking it to the next level. He's really speaking our language with his Fuel Bar 15. I don't know if you saw that he's got that whole thing going on now with recipes, healthy recipes for his mental health and what's best for his body. He's a mental health advocate, and that's primarily why we're here. We can help people feel better mentally by making lifestyle and nutritional changes. Mental health issues are growing at an alarming rate right now, and it was really in mine and Holly's separate clinical practices that we recognized the need for a team approach to health. So I'm the mood portion of Food and Mood. I'm a therapist in northern New Jersey, and I've had a private practice focusing on anxiety for the last 15 years.
And my name is Holly Delong. I'm a registered dietitian. And as Lauren said, we just both we wanted to create this company because we both saw in our individual practice that there was such a need for an integration of mental health and nutrition. So when I counsel people with diabetes or wanting to lose weight or have digestive issues, I see this need for integrating support for anxiety and depression. And when people aren't addressing that, they're really limited in the effects that they can see, and just the integration of those things is something that's sorely needed. So that is why we created a program called Holistic Happiness, and we're really excited about this because it's just a new kind of integration, an alternate approach to what traditional therapy offers. So not everyone's comfortable with the idea of kind of going to a therapist and talking all about their feelings, but mental health struggles are out there for everyone. So Holistic Happiness makes that a little bit more reachable and accessible for people. This program is going to be all online, which is really great during this time where we're all kind of stuck in our homes and doing everything virtually. It's 8 weeks long, and we'll meet weekly. We're really going to work to establish a community amongst everyone that's in the program. We're only accepting 20 participants, so it will be really tight-knit group for providing support and accountability to one another. Participants will also get one-on-one counseling with Lauren and myself. So offering those live hour-long webinars will focus on really important things to mental health that also integrate physical. So oftentimes this is overlooked, but people, your gut health, your sleep quality, how your blood sugar is managed. That all really affects how we feel and our moods. So these will be sort of the topics that we focus on throughout the program, and it will really just be that tight-knit group and integration between those mental health and nutrition services. So we're really excited about that. The program kicks off in January 25th, and enrollment is open now. You can enroll on yourfoodandmood.com.
That is great. I'm going to tweet that out so that our listeners can, find you guys. And I believe that you guys have a website created as well, not only a Twitter account. I have your Twitter handle at yourfoodandmood, but you guys also have a website where our listeners can find you. Is that correct?
That is correct, Al. We have yourfoodandmood.com, as I said, and that's where enrollment is. We also have a blog with helpful tips and tricks posted. We're on Instagram at Your Food and Mood and Facebook, and we post daily with things like recipes and just stress reduction tips. We focus a lot on COVID. We know that's really a struggle for people. So follow us on Instagram and Twitter for those tips and tricks that you can see regularly.
That's absolutely awesome. Go for it, Lauren.
So I think we actually have some tips and strategies so that people can start feeling better after they watch the game on Sunday. They can start having a better week. So we definitely don't want you to start your Monday off crappy from your choices on Sunday. And as we know, food and mood are unquestionably linked. And we don't want you just grabbing whatever you see without much thought. So we want to set you up to feel good for the following week. So here, Holly has some nutritional tips and some lifestyle tips that can help.
Yeah, so this perpetual cycle of kind of the influence of food and mood and mood and food is really what we're focused on. So what you eat, I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there can identify with Sunday football, and you're consuming large quantities of food and alcohol. You're sitting down for hours. And then you start your week off on Monday feeling kind of blah, feeling tired. Maybe you're suffering from heartburn or some stomach issues. And that really sets the tone for your whole week. So I wanted to just provide a few tips and tricks, as Lauren said. And these may sound small, but really it's those small adjustments that can actually make a big difference while still allowing you to enjoy Sunday football that I know everyone listening is so passionate about. So one of the things is, I know Sunday, the Jets games don't start any earlier than 1, so that kind of leaves an opportunity to start your day off on a good foot, but with a nice, healthy breakfast, get a workout in before the game, and that will kind of start you off on a good foot for going into Sunday football. As you're sitting down to watch it, a lot of times people are drinking alcohol, drinking beer, relaxing. Even something as simple as alternating an alcoholic drink with water can really make a huge difference in the way you feel the next day. Also, just the portions of food. So you can still enjoy your wings and your pizza, but if you just control your portions a little bit, that really makes a difference in how you feel the next day. So little things like keeping the wings or the pizza in the kitchen, loading up a plate, and going and watching the TV with your plate, as opposed to kind of having it all spread out on the coffee table where you'll just keep mindlessly reaching for things and end up filling up and feeling like crap. Even just moving around during the game, so stretching during halftime, get up, walk around, maybe get some fresh air. And then you could take it a little step further and maybe look for healthier alternatives for some of those traditional football meals. So there's tons of recipes out there for buffalo cauliflower bites that I really enjoy. Or if you get your pizza from the frozen aisle at the grocery store, California Pizza Kitchen actually makes really great options. That's going to still allow you to enjoy the pizza, but with a little bit less grease. Maybe you won't have as bad heartburn and feel as terrible the next day. And then my last tip is, if you take a high-quality B-complex before going to bed after a Sunday game, then your hangover will be a lot less worse the next day. So these tips and tricks can be really helpful. Maybe the listeners can even apply those to the upcoming Seahawks game this Sunday.
Wow, that is so great. And I know I'm going to be taking these notes down for myself because, some of the things that I've done with my life when I was, competing or, even now, regular day life, going to work and doing things like that. Lauren, when you and I were talking off air, you were talking about your gut being your second brain, and that is so, on point. It's not even funny because a lot of the things that we put in our body, basically can resemble what we get out, So if I'm eating poorly, then my workday is going to be sluggish, or my workout is not going to be where I feel it should be. And as you had mentioned before, with creating the right system, keeping your body balanced is just so important. And you can really, really maximize your potential in anything that you do when you have your food and your mood on point. So, everything that you guys are saying makes so much sense, and I'm so glad that, we can go out here and we can talk about these things because, there's so much focus on everything else going on in the world. And like you guys said, with the pandemic and everything like that, it's just very, very difficult to kind of balance as we get through this pandemic, and how are we going to get through this physically, mentally, and be better people for it. And, I'm just so glad that you guys were able to come on and, give us your time, because we know both of you are very busy, and we're very excited for your January 25th launch, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
That's great. So, again, I thank you both for, coming on and giving us these details. I mean, this is just rock solid stuff here. And, we do little segments every now and again to try to help people out. Recently we had Marty Lyons, former Jet, on talking about his, foundation that he's created for children's cancer research and making a wish for children that, have terminal diseases and things like that. So we like to step outside the football realm and talk about real life stuff and, just how we can, improve ourselves and get our listeners, for those that may not be familiar with how to, counterbalance some of the struggles that we have in our life. So again, this is just amazing to have both of you on, and I'm very excited to, continue to help you guys out. And I'm looking forward to when we link up again, after you guys get your company rolling, and then you could tell us how everything's going and any other things that you guys might have to further, the revolutionizing the way mental health is being conducted on, a therapeutic level.
Thank you so much for your words, and thank you so much for having us on again. If anybody wants to see if our program, Holistic Happiness, is right for them, there's actually a quiz that you could take for free on our website, yourfoodandmood.com. Basically, anybody who is suffering, if you're a stress eater, if you're an emotional eater, if you're suffering from low energy or mood swings, if you have trouble sleeping or struggling with your weight or body image, anxiety, depression, we're here for you. So, and we can offer a lot of tips to help out. So the best way to reach us is yourfoodandmood@gmail.com, or any of our social handles. They're all at Your Food and Mood.
That's great. And I'll be sure to retweet that out and get that out to our listeners. We'll be going to JetNation.com and, posting this as well. So, whatever we can do to help, you guys know where to find me. So please don't ever hesitate to get, us involved. And like I said, really, really looking forward to having both of you come back on sometime down the line and telling us what else you guys have in store for the fans, the listeners, and the people getting involved with your great company.
Awesome. We would love that. Thank you.
Okay, Holly and Lauren, thank you again so much for your time. Wish you guys well, and looking forward to talking to you guys hopefully soon.
You too. Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Okay, be well.
You too.
Okay, great. Dylan, are you still there, bud?
Yeah, I'm here. Got dropped for a second, but I'm back.
All right. So we got you back on the line. That was really great. Definitely very excited. Holly and Lauren are really, really good people, and I'm glad that, we were able to give them an opportunity to, talk a little bit about, what they're trying to do to create more balance and help the people, again, that, may not be fully understanding what's going on around them. I myself have struggled with anxiety with certain things and, stress and being frustrated while in the workplace and trying to find ways to be more balanced, more productive, and stay focused on my job and things outside my job network as well. So I'm really, really excited about that because, a lot of our Jets players, like I had mentioned earlier, are involved in, supporting the homeless, military support foundations, cancer research. I put a tweet out earlier for, My Claws, My Cleats on my Twitter line. So listeners, please, we encourage you to, help us out and help Food and Mood. A simple like, a retweet, extending it to another social media network that would really, really help them and help us. So, let's do the right thing. And that's what we're all here about. We're trying to take something positive while we have this doom and gloom team that we're about to transition back to. And let's get right back to the topic at hand. This Raiders game, Dylan, Sam Darnold comes out, and the team's looking pretty decent. We're out there. We're getting the ball to Mims. We're finding Perriman. Jamison Crowder finds the red zone twice very early on in the game. And it looks like the Jets were rolling a little bit, but Sam had some hiccups in there. What was your takes from the game, and what was your overall assessment? And then I guess what we can do is we'll transition into some studs and duds here before we get into, I guess, the more drama-related topics that we have in store.
Yeah, so for the stud category, my first stud here that I had listed was the combination of Ty Johnson and Josh Adams. We spoke about it a little bit before Holly and Lauren came on. They rushed for 178 combined yards after Frank Gore went down with an injury. Johnson had 104 and a touchdown on 22 carries. Adams was 74, and that was the first time a Jets runner actually eclipsed 100 yards since Isaiah Crowell back in 2018. So first time under Gase we've had a 100-yard rusher, and it was not a guy that Gase was feeding the ball 20 times to a game all season. It was somebody that just had an opportunity to pop up and made the most of it. And then the second one on my list was Jamison Crowder. You mentioned the 2 touchdowns, both in the red zone, which you love to see because normally you think down in the red zone that Sam Darnold's going to target a taller target as Denzel Mims or Brashad Perriman maybe, but I think Jamison Crowder getting open in the red zone is great. He was getting open all day on those little zig routes and speed outs, so that was good to see. And then my third stud, which kind of a weekly appearance at this point. Every time I come on, I have to talk about my guy, Quinton Williams. Picked up another sack, his 6th on the year, and then 3 quarterback hits brings him to 13 total on the year with 9 tackles for a loss. And Quinton Williams looks every bit of the 3rd overall pick that we thought he was going to be. Do you want me to go into the duds, or do you want to follow up with some studs?
Yeah, go right into your duds that you have in there, and then I'll counter back with mine.
Absolutely. So the first dud I had was Brashad Perriman. I thought for the most part he was playing cornerback more so than wide receiver, which kind of falls on Sam Darnold a little bit as well. But that Trayvon Mullen interception, I think, was Perriman's fault just as much as Sam Darnold. He could have came back to that ball aggressively, maybe gotten a hand in there, or tried to just, be more aggressive on the ball. And then on the first drive on the Mims crosser where he got down inside the 5-yard line, Jeff Heath was in Brashad Perriman's zone. I believe he was covering him on the play. And Brashad Perriman just kind of missed an opportunity to put his hands on a guy and make a block. And I think that block could have sprung Mims the extra 3 yards to get in the end zone. I know the Jets scored 3 plays later, but Denzel Mims getting that first touchdown, you would have liked to see it. So I put him as a dud. Then second on the list was anybody on defense covering Darren Waller. It started out with Hewitt and Lange. They were just dropping back in soft zone on 3rd down, letting him take advantage. And then towards the end of the game, you saw him outside against Bryce Hall on the touchdown where him and Marcus May just made, quite frankly, pathetic attempts to try to tackle a large man of his size around his shoulder pads. And then at the very end of the game, Marcus May kept a drive alive on a 3rd and 8, again, a cover 0 blitz, and left him one-on-one with Darren Waller, and he got a holding to extend the drive inside the red zone for the Raiders. And then the third one, I didn't really want to have to put him on the dud category, but Mekhi Becton, he landed there for me. I know I talked about some good things he did in the run game, but overall he got beat by Cleveland Farrell twice, and they both led to strip sacks of Sam Darnold. So not so much a highlight game for Becton overall, but we're going to expect that from a rookie. He's going to see some things that he's never seen before, and you just got to hope that he can come back and correct them the next game.
Okay, so run that down for me one more time. Your 3 studs were Ty Johnson, right?
Both the running backs, Crowder and Q.
Okay, Crowder, Q, Williams. Then you had anyone
Perriman,
put this out?
We'll just say
covering
Perriman,
Waller.
the inside linebackers. Yes, the Perriman, the inside linebackers specifically, and Mekhi Becton. I can't put it all on Marcus May when the linebackers are letting him get to that third level of the defense. So we'll say interior linebackers.
The man can only do so much, right? I mean, he's been having a great season, and he's trying to do so much with those inexperienced guys.
Exactly. Prior to that holding call that I was just talking about on 3rd and 8, he had 2 nice pass breakups. One was down the field. He was the over-the-top safety on Nelson Aguilar, and he just read Nelson Aguilar's eyes perfectly. And then the next play, he came up on the line of scrimmage and bumped Bryce Hall out of the way and made a nice play on a slant to Renfro. And then, of course, Neville Hewitt in coverage against Darren Waller on 3rd down, easy first down completion. So Marcus May can only do so much.
Yeah, we had chatted about that prior to the game about how would the Jets do against Waller. We talked about Renfro being a problem, and he was early on. Ruggs, we had kind of a handle on him. He dropped a pass, it turned into a turnover for us, and then he gets the late strike at the end of the game to become the hero. So really, really just wild and crazy game. And I'm going to go right into my studs and duds. Very quite similar to yours. Pat Eflin really, really stood out to me. A little bit of room to be desired in the pass pro, area, but as far as being an effective run blocker, he hit a lot of his keys. He was moving to the second level. You saw him driving linebackers and safeties down the field. Just kind of some stuff that we haven't really seen too much of outside of Mekhi Becton's weekly, body bag throw that he has been doing with Baldy's breakdowns. So Alflin is one of my studs. Had to put in Jamison Crowder. He's been very quiet the last few weeks. Glad to see him and Sam get back on page. This was a guy that was basically the heart and soul of the receiving room early on, and then he had a couple injuries, and when he came back, I wasn't really sure if, it was Adam Gase's poor scheme not getting the ball to him, or, like Sam said, the defense is doing a really good job of trying to remove him from Sam and make him go elsewhere. But it's good to see Jamison Crowder come back, and a guy in our defense that kind of been quietly doing pretty well over the last few weeks and has an amazing amount of tackles at this point. I think he's at 105 tackles on the season at this point. And he had 12 tackles last Sunday, and that was Neville Hewitt. Now, normally we are, when we're talking about Neville Hewitt, we're usually talking about, a blown coverage and seeing the back of his jersey and things like that. So I want to just shed the light on him just for a little bit because, we have to get something positive from this team from, 12 weeks of just misery. And for my duds, I'm going to go with Sam Darnold, 3 turnovers on the game. Good Sam, bad Sam. It really seems like the poor kid cannot get inconsistency out there. Not all there was some breakdowns. Some linemen got beat up, and Josh Andrews had to come in for Greg Van Roten, and they were definitely very effective queuing up Cleveland Farrell and kind of running stunts over Becton, and the young rookie finally met his match, it seems. He's been doing really, really exceptionally well all year, and it looks like Cleveland Farrell created an opportunity for our young potential Pro Bowl rookie left tackle to learn from some of the mistakes that he made this weekend, and you got to take some good out of the bad. So, go study the film, work on your craft, and hopefully the next time around those two face, Becton will be the one that wins that particular one-on-one battle. For my other two duds here, unfortunately, Lamar Jackson was put in a pretty bad situation at the end of the game. Not all of his fault, but he ends up with, I believe, 2 touchdowns let up on the day. The young UDFA rookie just seems to, trial by fire here. We threw him into the deep end. We're trying to see if he can swim, and Lamar Jackson is taking his lumps. I don't know what his future holds with the Jets into the 2021 season. He's a big guy. I think he's around 6'3", 225, kind of built like a safety. Very interesting seeing him on the outside of corner, but we do know that our previous coach, who is my biggest dud, Gregg Williams, likes big physical corners. So perhaps that's why Lamar Jackson has been getting more opportunities as of late. It'll be interesting to see if the new defensive coordinator, our assistant head coach, Frank Bush, it'll be interesting to see who he deploys over the next few weeks. And I guess it'll be interesting for, guys like us that like to watch the film and see what exactly, alters as far as, do the Jets try to continue this scheme of a modified 3-4 and 4-3? Will Frank Bush go in a different direction and change some things, or is it more or less going to be the same kind of defense that we saw? So definitely interested to see what Frank Bush has for us, in the upcoming weeks. So that's our studs and our duds for the week. So I guess at this point, before we get into the Gregg Williams situation, because I feel like that's probably going to take up a good amount of time, just checking the studio here. We have no callers, so it's just you and me, Dylan.
Awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about Alex Lewis's situation here. A lot of speculation going on throughout the weeks on what was going on. Some rumors that came out about some elevated or intense arguments in the locker room and outside the locker room. Turns out that Alex is going through some personal things right now. He was put on the NFI list. The Jets will be paying him out, but they're also very supportive of Alex. And whatever he's got going on, we know that we love this game of football, but real life stuff always comes first, family and things of that nature. So, Alex Lewis will not be participating with the team for the remainder of the year. We were told that his future is not in jeopardy, according to Adam Gase, but he really was not allowed to get further into detail about it. What was your perspective on the Alex Lewis situation, Dylan?
So earlier today I listened to Rich Cimini podcast Flight Deck, and he spoke a little bit about it, went a little bit more into depth about that situation, and said that there was rumblings of a possible blow-up during practice between Adam Gase and Alex Lewis. And obviously nobody is going to have sources close enough to find out what 100% happened in that situation. But from surface level, if that is what happened, I think, there is something that could be going on in Alex Lewis's personal life, maybe off the field, that could have extended onto the field where he had a blow up and just needs, to cool down and take care of what he has going on. So I appreciate, I like the fact that the Jets are, paying him out. They're not going to, he's not in risk of losing his roster spot. So I think that's all well and good. But on the flip side, you also have to be a little skeptical about another player having a bit of a rift with Adam Gase. And I think from my perspective, if I had to pick a side of anything, I obviously have no sources, but I would hope that it's just a problem between he and Gase, and he and Alex Lewis and Joe Douglas might have sat down separately and said, hey, we want you going forward. Joe Douglas traded for him, and he's a Joe Douglas guy. He's not necessarily a Gase guy, so maybe he'll say, hey, let's just put you on the NFI. We'll let you cool down for the rest of the season. We're going to get rid of Adam Gase. And then once we can come back with a level head. Maybe we'll rethink things. You can be our starter again, perhaps, and we'll go from there. So I hope that that's the case with Alex Lewis, because I've always been a fan of his toughness. I like that he plays through some injuries. He was on the week 1 injury report with a shoulder, and some people think that never fully healed, and he's been playing through it. So you never know when it comes to these nagging injuries with players. So from my perspective, I hope he's a good asset, a good depth piece at the least.
Absolutely. And my perspective on it is he's a good, solid depth piece. We do know that he has had some issues with penalties, holding here and there. He is a feisty, fiery guy, definitely tough as nails. I remember his first day of practice, he and Nate Shepard exchanged hands, just a passionate, emotional kind of guy. And I think that what we've seen in the past from our guards, which has not been great play, he can keep you honest. Obviously, there's a lot of room to improve on the offensive line and many areas of this team. But as far as having guys that, will battle in the trenches no matter what, Alex Lewis is definitely one of those players. And, moving forward, we had talked about Cam Clark before. I'd really like to see him get more opportunities. When you're 0-12, what is the point of having, seasoned vets get their reps at this point in time, especially if they don't have any long-term future with us. So I would like to see Cam Clark maybe crack the lineup this weekend. My gut tells me Josh Andrews is probably going to be the guy, so a little room to be concerned there. We've seen, I guess, inconsistent play from him. I don't want to harp on him, but, we've seen some pressures. We've seen some whiffs, and, when you do stuff like that, that's when the quarterback and other players get demolished. So, Sam's been running for his life all season, and the last thing that we need is to see 14 yet again with another injury. Would kind of just further or, solidify his, potential future with the Jets, which we're unsure of at this point. A lot of speculation, as we were saying. We're in tank mode, majority of us. So a lot of the future is undetermined at this point. We have a good feeling on what's going to happen, but, it's December. April's a long time away, a few months from now. So a lot of things can change between now and then. So, all right, let's get right into this Gregg Williams situation here. For the fans that, may not have caught the game or obviously had heard about it or whatever, Jets were winning this game with a couple minutes left. The Raiders got the ball back. They got themselves to about midfield. I think it was a 46 or 48-yard touchdown, I want to say. There wasn't much time, maybe about 10 to 11 seconds left on the clock. And Gregg Williams loads the tackle box, runs a cover zero blitz. And for those of you who are not familiar with the cover zero, it's basically the corners on the outside play man-to-man. They don't get any safety help or deep coverage help, and you got to do your job. Really, really, obviously a bad call. The pressure meter was dialed up by Gregg Williams in the second half, and it seemed to be pretty effective for the most part. We were getting pressure on Derek Carr, but I think at that point in time of the game, you have to be smart. You have to try to win the game, go into a prevent defense, put your 3 best coverage guys or safeties that you have available and put them in the end zone, and don't let anybody in. That's kind of how I would have called it. How did you see that, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you as far as my particular play call for that type of situation. I know this is no simulation of true football, but in Madden, I think nobody would run an engage 8 on that type of situation. They would run a prevent and just drop everybody back in zone. It seems like the logical thing to do. So, yeah, I would absolutely just drop my guys back in coverage, put Marcus May maybe at the 15-yard line. They were at about the plus 45, so put him 30 yards off the ball. He'll pick a side to whatever one gets beat because we have undrafted and, late round rookie corners on the outside, including an undrafted free agent in the slot. So, yeah, I think that would be my play call as well. Pretty easy play call, to be honest. But on the flip side, I think that this is exactly who Gregg Williams is. And no matter what, he wants to live and die by the blitz. He wants that last play of the game, to be a flashy blitz and a sack or a sack fumble, or, he just wants it to be a nice slam door closed victory. He wasn't thinking about anything over the top. I think he just had tunnel vision on let's go get Derek Carr because it was working throughout the game. He had run cover 0 a few times prior in that game. It worked. It didn't work. Some were penalties that extended drives. But overall, I wouldn't have necessarily fired Gregg Williams after it. I think Adam Gase the Jets, I should say, had no choice because when you have your defensive captain, Marcus May, coming out and saying 8 times in a 4-minute interview that it was a bad play call, I think that's going to create more tension if you keep Gregg more so than getting rid of him. So unfortunately, Gregg's the scapegoat there. But when you go back and look at the play on film, Matthias Farley was just in no man's land. He started 10 yards off the ball, crept up about 6 yards off the ball when Carr snapped it, and just kind of stood there like he was doing a spy. Like he had a guy in coverage, but he wasn't sure what they were going to do, whether it was Waller who stayed in to protect or whatever it was, but he just didn't commit to the blitz. And now I'm not saying it's all entirely his fault, but just having that commitment to the blitz could have executed the play a little bit better. So in my mind, I don't think Gregg Williams needed to be fired yesterday. I think you could have waited till after the season, but visually, I think you had to because players were coming out, and then you had Hewitt saying he might audible, and he thought about audibling, and Gase saying he couldn't have overturned the call with a timeout because he was talking to another coach. So visually, yes, you had to fire Gregg Williams, but from a scheme standpoint, no. I think this is what Gregg Williams does.
Yeah, a couple players seem to be a little upset, and one of them was Quentin Williams put out a sad emoji or something of that nature.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely a little risky, because we've seen some ramifications of other Jets players taking to social media on particular topics, and things have not played well for them. So. He's a young guy.
I saw he quickly deleted it as well.
I kind of figured as much that he would do so. We know that Q's got good people in his corner, and who knows if that came from the front office or from his people. But I was a little alarmed when I saw that too, and I was like, all right, let's not create more drama than there is in an 0-12 season.
Exactly.
I think you're right. And a lot of people seem to be a little potentially nervous about this scenario here on, why did Gregg Williams get the axe, even though, that type of play, that kind of scenario is deserving as such. But Adam Gase has been twice as bad throughout the last 2 years, and somehow he still hangs here. I know some friends from my inner circle are preparing for life with Adam Gase in 2021. I am trying to prepare myself for that as well. I'm really hoping that I'm wrong on this situation. But, the Johnsons just can't get my thumb on them, can't really get a read on where they're coming from or what they see. The fact that they could sit there and look at someone in the face and say that they still have the utmost confidence in Gase and this crew, it's like Pinocchio. I can't believe his nose is not growing after, addressing the media in that manner. But, I don't want to get the listeners all riled up with this conversation, but maybe we should prepare ourselves just in case if it doesn't come, right? That's what we got to do here.
Exactly.
2020 has taught us one thing: expect the unexpected. So, Gregg Williams, he's moving on to his next chapter. He's no longer our defensive coach. I put this out there on a tweet. Not everybody's cup of tea. I liked Gregg. I thought that he had the potential to take this defense to another level. I think he really, really showed that on the second half of 2019 season. But you have Mosley opt out. Pierre Desir experiment fizzled out, didn't work out. You've got UDFAs and rookies out there. You've got second, third, fourth string guys at the linebacker position mixing in and out. Not a lot of great talent for Gregg Williams to work with. But at the same time, we really expected him to coach the team up because that's what we saw in the second half of the year. And I believe they're ranked somewhere between 29th to 30th in the NFL. So clearly not did a great job. But I would have thought, with Gase making this decision, and when Gregg Williams had made some comments earlier in the season about how it's not all on the defense because they're on the field majority of the game, definitely took a shot at Adam Gase there. Definitely was a riff. Apparently they had to have, conversations about that kind of stuff. And, Williams put Gase into a tough predicament, having to address the media with those things. And we all know how Adam Gase handles the media. At some point he and Rich Cimini are going to have some sort of wrestling match before 2020 ends here. It just kind of seems that there's a little bit of
book it at WrestleMania.
I'm telling you, you can tell that there's a little something brewing between those two.
He asks for it every time. He says, "All right, that's the injury rundown. What do you have for me, Rich?" Just waiting for Rich to butt in. He's doing his job. He's going to ask the tough questions.
Right. In New York, that's what they tell you. That's what they try to prepare you for. I don't know if these guys are just, I've met and seen some of these people in the past, and they're good people. Like they said, they have a job to do, and that's what they're going to do. So, 32nd ranked offense. You're not getting the most out of your players. Chris Herndon has been a ghost. We haven't seen any of him. The Jets do not
He's
highlight
a mighty
him
good blocker.
in any shape or form. He's a good blocker. It seems like his job and Griffin's job is to mainly come in mass protection and help the guys out there that have trouble doing their job blocking. So perspective is interesting. Not sure exactly what his perspective was, but clearly he's not watching the same games that we are. But we do have some time here to talk about our upcoming opponent, and this one is a personal one, Dylan. We are going up against Jamal Adams and the Seattle Seahawks. I'm sure he's revved up for this game. Jamal's going to have a lot to say before the game, during the game, and after the game, especially if we end up with a loss. Probably not going to be a lot of fun hearing to what he has to say. He'll probably be talking in third person as he does now, and probably poo-pooing on our team as much as he possibly can, because that's kind of what he's turned into. He was once a hero. He turned into a villain quite quick. So what do you think about how the Jets are going to handle Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks? Even though they haven't looked so great the last week, the Giants came up with a major upset last weekend in their house, and now here we are they're going to face the other New York team. So what do you think this one's going to look like?
So I kind of wish Glenn was on this show. I wish he was able to call in at the tail end, because I know that he circled this one on his calendar so many times it probably ripped a hole in it. He's been so fired up for this rematch or revenge game for Jamal Adams, and I think it's unfortunately going to go how most Jets fans think. I think it's going to be bad. It's going to be a double-digit loss. Jamal Adams is going to be like a bat out of hell coming for Sam Darnold, because when they traded Jamal Adams, there was those whole rumors with Ryan Clark on ESPN saying the Jets need to keep Jamal as a centerpiece, and they need to move on from Sam Darnold in the middle of last season at the trade deadline. So I mean, there's going to be bad blood, and it's going to come out hot and heavy. And I think Jamal Adams is probably going to get a sack, possibly a sack fumble. You know, he's going to be coming off the right side. I don't think he's going to want to test Mekhi Becton too much, but it's going to be interesting for sure. I think the offense, though, however, the Seattle offense has been struggling as of late. So let's see what the new interim defensive coordinator, Frank Bush, can do. I mean, I'm excited to see how he deploys the defense, whether it's more 3-4 or 4-3. But I think the Seattle offensive line is prone to leaks, and I think Quentin Williams can get home. So it'll be interesting.
Absolutely. You know, I definitely feel that this is going to be somewhat personal for 33, obviously, with all the drama that had happened from 2019 at the trade deadline and throughout the offseason. I actually kind of want to look up Jamal's stats right now because I was talking to my dad not too long ago, and I said, you know, he's getting really close to breaking that sack record. And I want to pull up his stats right now. So Jamal Adams is at 7.5 sacks. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it might be 8.5 or 9 sacks for defensive backs. That is the record, I believe. I believe it's 8.5 or 9. So Jamal will have the opportunity against an offensive line that is a little inconsistent. And I'm sure that his coach is going to be pinning his earbacks coming for us heavy and often. So I guess that would be a little bittersweet to see Jamal Adams breaking that record against his old former team that drafted him. And you said it right. You know, unfortunately, Glenn may not be joining us tonight. Not 100% sure. We do have a caller on the line, and the number is unrecognized to me at this point. Let's see if this is Glenn. Caller, you're on the line.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Yes. Who's this?
This is Glenn.
Okay. That is not Glenn. I have a feeling our friend was trying to troll us yet again. So the phone lines will be closed for the rest of the show tonight. And it's been a long one here. We've gone an hour plus strong. And, you know, we're going to come to an end here and wrap it up quite shortly. So what is your prediction on this game? What do you think the score is going to look like? Are the Jets going to have a dog in this fight? You know, Seattle has been one of those weird teams that tends to have, you know, look like a Super Bowl team, and then the following week they seem to look, you know, like one of the bottom of the barrel teams here. What do you think is going to happen, Dylan?
Well, I mean, as far as the score, I don't have an exact score yet, but as I'm talking through it, I'll probably come up with one. I just think that the game script for the Seattle Seahawks plays in too good a favor for them. Just like the Raiders last week coming off, you know, an embarrassing loss to the Falcons, this is a get-right game for them. And Seattle's going to be licking their chops. They just lost at home to the Giants, to Colt McCoy and Wayne Gallman, you know, so they're not feeling too good about that. And they're going to come out next week and they're going to want to play. So I'm worried that the Jets may not score any offensive touchdowns, let alone any touchdowns in the game, rather. I'm scared that it's going to be a 31-6 type game. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, you know, they got a lot of firepower on that team. You know, they just got Chris Carson back. He's going to be a problem. He's a dual threat as far as being, you know, a guy that can run between the tackles and get involved in the passing game. DK Metcalf is just becoming one of those studs, wide receivers. He's making a name for himself. He had a lot of naysayers coming in. You know, he was too slow because of that 3-cone drill. He was too big, too muscular. He's going to be injury prone. He only runs one route. All this, you know, negativity and just false statements across the board. And he's taken the league by storm. He can stretch the field. He can work the intermediate and short areas. And he's hard to take down. He's a big, big wide receiver, probably one of the biggest, most physical guys in the league as far as the outside wide receiver position is considered. So, again, who knows, what Frank Bush is going to deploy. Maybe we see Lamar Jackson again. I'm really not sure, who else would be the next man up. I know, what's his name, Javelin Guidry, if I said that right.
Yep.
Haven't really seen too
much
of him.
the next man up it would be. Yeah.
I think he would be the number 4. Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't played too many snaps. I think Campbell, the guy that they just signed to the active roster last week off the practice squad, I think he might even be the next man up. So it's going to be very difficult again. Gregg Williams liked to run his cornerbacks and safeties 100% of the time on the field. So maybe Frank Bush kind of has no choice due to the lack of depth there. I'm also excited to see how Frank Bush deploys Quinton Williams and Jabari Zuniga, because I think Jabari Zuniga has been grossly underused, as well as Quentin Williams. I mean, you look at Quinton's last 2 games, and he's got an uptick. He's played 73% of the snaps and then 82% of the snaps the last 2 games. But normally for Quinton, he's in the 55 to 65 range. I have him at 64% of the snaps of the games that he's played in. So I want to see if Frank Bush will play him even more. I think he needs to be in that 70 to 80 range every single week. And then Jabari Zuniga, just get him on the field, put him in different situations, first down runs, second down runs, third down pass or runs, anything. Just get him out there, see what you have before the season's done, because we only have 4 games. And I don't think anybody wants to go into next season with a question mark of Jabari Zuniga at a position that, if he hits, could cover a major need for the Jets at outside pass rusher.
You hit it right there on the head. This is the time of the year where we need to see what's in store for us in 2021. Zuniga is, we were waiting quite a while for him to get healthy and crack the lineup. We've seen him in a rotation, but he has not jumped off the page. No big surprise from young, inexperienced players that are fighting in the trenches. You really don't see stat sheets being, marked up too much from those position players. So, let's get Quentin Williams deployed. Let's style up his snap count. Let's get Zuniga involved. We got to see, what we're going to be looking at next year as far as, will he be competing for a defensive end role? Will he be looking to be an edge defender? I kind of see him as a defensive end in a 4-3 scheme. And clearly, with there being a void at the defensive coordinator decision, we can't speculate on what our base will be next year. It could be a 3-4. It could be a modified or a hybrid. It could be a 4-3 base. So, we'll see exactly, hopefully, what they're going to be bringing to us next year. And we got to know now with what we have, what to expect. And, I like Henry Anderson, and we've seen Nate Shepard, and we've seen a lot of these other guys out there do things. And I think, no disservice to them for what they've done, because they're good players. But at this point, I think we have to start getting those reps up for our younger guys so we know what we have to expect for us. So I'm going to give my prediction real quick. I think this is going to be another ugly loss. The Jets will continue to stay winless, and it's probably going to be, I think they're dropping at least 30 points on us. We might get lucky and maybe put up a couple field goals. This could be like a 31-6 or, maybe a 31-10 game. And, I know that there's another young player out there, and I know some people have said they want to see James Morgan. I don't know if I'm essentially ready for that, but at the end of the day, if Darnold's not looking so great and he's running for his life and getting banged up, and he's unable to get the ball to our playmakers, people don't want to see Joe Flacco, but I would like to see Denzel Mims get as much opportunities as he can to showcase what he has. I would like to see somebody try to incorporate Chris Herndon, and I'd like to see him score before the year's end. Let's get some of these guys involved, because we haven't seen much from them at all.
It sounds a little selfish,
Dylan?
but I would love to see Denzel Mims get in the end zone. I alluded to it when I first came on the show a couple months back that I bought a Denzel Mims autographed rookie card in the off season in the summertime when I was going through a card phase. So that's one of the ones that I hope really hits, and I'm glad that the Jets got him, because regardless of who the quarterback going forward is, I mean, you have to like what you see from him. He's just contested catch after contested catch, fighting for every yard. He's great in the blocks, like everything to like about him. But I have a wild card question.
Very close too.
Yeah, I know, and I think Perriman, that's the reason he didn't. But it's more so about Jamison Crowder, because Crowder is Darnold's favorite receiver. And if the future is bleak on Darnold, do you agree that the future should be bleak on Crowder, or do you say, hey, he's a slot guy for the next quarterback in, or do you just scrap it and say, hey, we'll go with Mims and just go down to the studs and start over?
Yeah, interesting there. I like what Crowder brings to the table. Next year is his final year of his contract. So, I'm sure his agent is probably saying, let's try to get you a good year so we can get you one big final payday or an extension with the Jets. I'd have to say that we really haven't seen enough of Perriman at this point, and some of the things that he's done has looked pretty good, and some people are a little torn. Some people want Perriman to come back next year and be a part of this offense because we kind of feel like we have an untapped weapon there that we haven't really utilized enough. So I kind of lean toward, let's dial up the Mims and Perriman meter, and we know what to expect from Jamison Crowder, even though, he is our best wide receiver that we have, or at least the one statistically in that manner. But, let's get Mims involved. Let's get him 10 to 12 targets. Let's force teams to try to make adjustments on us and have them respect what this young guy can do, because I think he's really, really close from having a big game. But that's not going to happen if you don't put him into your offensive game plan and scheme him right and navigate plays to where he can get into space, because I was a big fan of Mims when he was in college. I'm a fantasy football junkie, admitting it's the first stage, right? And I had Mims on my team,
absolutely.
And he was a waiver ad, and he ended up being my number one wide receiver on my team. And that's kind of how I came to know of Mims. And then when people were telling me he was a third, fourth round prospect, I was like, you're crazy. This guy's got all the talent in the world, and he has, all the proper skill set to be a number one potentially. And, he came in through the process. He killed the combine. He did absolutely awesome. And then there was a lot of speculation from being a mid-round day 3 pick to a first-day pick in the first round. And I kind of feel that he carries a chip on his shoulder because he felt that he should have been picked in the first round and sliding into the second round to the Jets. So I like that he's got fire in his belly. I think we need to utilize that more and just, keep the ball going toward 11 because, the young man hasn't gotten into the end zone yet. I think he's due, and I'm kind of hoping that this is the weekend that does it, because we have seen Seattle have some breakdowns. And, this is the year of the offense. A lot of defensive teams are not playing very well this year. So let's hope that trend works a little bit or continues. And hopefully we see, Mims being hopefully not just one touchdown. Maybe it'll be multiple, but I'll settle for one. I'll take one Mims score and, let's get the young guys going, right?
Yep, absolutely. When on that 2-point conversion, it felt good to see number 11 in the end zone again. And it's funny, no matter who's in the double ones for the Jets, it's let's feed that man because we know he's good. So.
Absolutely. All right, Dylan, let's wrap it up here. We almost made it 90 minutes tonight, a little bit of an extended show. just want to thank Lauren and Holly from Food and Mood coming onto the show and, giving our listeners some information about their great company and what they have in store to, help people create more balance in their life. That we're all about that kind of stuff here at JetNation Radio. We know that, this is a football podcast, but, there's a lot of stuff going on in the outside world that we can control and we can't control. And, there are ways to improve upon ourselves and just be the best that we can be. So thank you, Holly and Lauren, for taking the time to give us your information. We will be retweeting and supporting your stuff. And Dylan, good show, bud. Glenn couldn't make it this week, but I'm sure next week we'll all get together and, he'll have his opportunity to, give his takes about 33 the Prez. Hopefully, this one goes a little bit of a different way. If we do get a win miraculously before the end of the year, I think we're all rooting for Jacksonville at this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
I know I'm rooting for them extremely hard. I've never cared about Jacksonville.
Thought they had it this week.
They're very important.
Yep.
Oh, they were so close.
I was hoping they had
Minnesota.
it this week so that I could have rooted to finish out this game against Vegas. I was hoping that I could root for the Jaguars and the Jets to both win, but hey, it turns out the Jets fall fate. I think the losses are what we need. So.
All right, Dylan. Well, that's going to do it. Listeners, thank you for joining us tonight on JetNation Radio. Don't forget to go to the forums at JetNation.com. There's no membership fees or anything. It's the #1 football forum in the NFL. That's where all the Jets conversation goes 24/7, 365 a year. JetNation.com is your go-to source for Jet news. So everybody be well, stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at JetNation Radio. Glenn is at AceFan23 and Alex is at NYJetsLife24. Until next time, go Jets!